David McCuan. He's a professor and department chair of political science at Sonoma University. He joins us from California. Professor, it's a pleasure having you on the show. This will obviously be a pivotal moment for Joe Biden, yes?
It's a huge moment for Joe Biden. It's a huge moment because the 100-day mark has been a tradition around, obviously, since FDR. But this is a different time. This is a time that's post-Trump. Democrats are looking to go big, go bold. The president will talk about that tonight, but they also have to talk about a way forward. They're proposing a massive spending that will help American families in the wake of what they've done in terms of COVID relief. They've also have an infrastructure plan out there. But the president also has to talk about race relations, police reform, what's going on with immigration. So while they will talk about the last 100 days, really the next 100 days or the next 1,400 days headed to whatever looks like the rest of this administration, that really is going to be a tight squeeze, partly because of the midterm elections next year, and Democrats have a very tight margin within Congress itself.
And Republicans have accused Biden of divisive language and not doing enough to include them in decision-making processes. Does the president need to amend his language, you think, to better engage with lawmakers across the aisle? Or are Republicans, I don't know, just being politicians?
Right. So at some degree, Republicans are talking about sour milk here in some ways. However, the president did talk about unity when he came in. And if they're going to set markers that are quite high in terms of how they're going to negotiate, they can always negotiate down, bringing up Republicans in that process for spending bills, for example. But Joe Biden is going to have trouble not just with Republicans, but with some moderate Democrats moving forward. So in that sense, when you're talking about police reform, when you're talking about the police, when you're talking about race in the United States, always a very difficult conversation. How are you going to move some people across to the middle of the aisle? That's what we'll see. We'll look for language for that from Tim Scott, the African-American senator, Republican, who will give the response for the Republicans after the speech. Is there any common language or bond there, and how do we move forward? That'll be something to watch, because Joe Biden, first and foremost, is a creature of Capitol Hill and a deal maker.
Professor, what do you think would be the president's most important plans this year, and obviously plans that he will need bipartisan support for?
Right. He's going to need bipartisan support for infrastructure, because infrastructure, jobs, building bridges, building roads, those are apolitical or nonpartisan. There aren't Democratic roads or Republican roads, for example. So Democrats and this president need an accomplishment. They're also going to need to define clearly the role for the vice president, Kamala Harris, for what happens in terms of her role on immigration, on the border, on certain key issues, not just casting tie-breaking votes in the Senate. How that emerges is important. All the while, there's going to be a recall election developing in California, or events in the Middle East, or events in Turkey, events in various areas of the world that can overtake the best laid plans. As that occurs, can this administration adjust? And what does he say tonight about anything related to foreign policy or security, or is it solely a domestic policy-oriented talk?
All right, Professor David McCuan, always appreciate having you on the show. Thank you.